Imitation. It's the sincerest form of flattery. When you're the start of something that's never been done before the way you did it and get a ton of recognition for it, you are guaranteed to get a ton of imitators wanting a piece of that pie. Just do what that guy's doing, and you'll be given the keys to success in no time. But in reality, it's not that simple. When people see you clearly aping the more popular guy's bit, they're going to take notice and criticize you for it, especially if they're a fan of said more popular guy. The said popular guy is the angry video game nerd. If you watch my channel, you are no doubt familiar with who this guy is, as he's been the subject of quite a few bits from me. Too Long Didn't Read, James Rolfe and his character were a culture phenomenon online in the late 2000s. It was a full online series with an understandable premise. Just an angry guy in his basement yelling obscenities at crappy games. It was entertaining and unique, and he quickly gained a huge following online. But in that time, he also gained a bunch of wannabes and people quick to copy his bit. Now, I've already gone over a few of these in the past.
Graphics by ATI! ATI, my ass!
Go check that video out if you want to get a little bit more in depth. There were a ton of people just flat out doing the exact same thing James was doing. One of these imitators, however, is heads and shoulders more notorious than the rest. This is Chris Bores, most commonly known by his old alias, the Irate Gamer. Chris Bores was the punching bag of the online angry reviewer scene back in the day. I dare say he was the most hated man on the platform at one point in time, and all for the simple fact he was aping James Rolfe's bit. Now we journey into the tale of a man who got famous by doing the exact same thing someone else was doing, and how that affected him and his reputation online. Welcome to the story of Chris Bores. But first, don't you just love emails? If you use the internet, you probably have one. Pretty much any website you sign up for requires you to have one. They're basically a necessity. But emails also have the issue of being incredibly vulnerable to spam and scams. Well, with today's sponsor, Proton Mail, you can tell those Nigerian princes to keep their money. Proton Mail is a private email service dedicated to keeping you and your info safe, and a fantastic private alternative compared to Gmail and other big tech company emails. With Proton Mail's zero-access encryption software, all of your emails are encrypted and can only be accessed by the sender and the receiver, while other emails will swarm you with spam and advertisements, along with newsletters you desperately want to get rid of. Proton Mail blocks all email trackers and ads, and allows you to unsubscribe from any newsletters with one click. It will flag any suspicious attacks and block any email trackers. Organize and manage your inbox to your heart's content with Proton Mail's features. Your email and your privacy deserve much better, and Proton Mail can provide just that. Proton Mail is also a part of a big network of different apps and tools such as Proton VPN and Proton Drive, all created to help every part of your online experience be in complete private and in your control. And you can use all of these on several different devices, including your laptop and your phones. If you click my link in the description, you can get up to 40% off if you decide to sign up for Proton Mail. And if you use Gmail or other select providers, there's an easy setup that will transfer all of your info in a flash. Sign up for Proton Mail and keep the privacy you deserve. Thank you, Proton Mail, for sponsoring this video. Chris created his first YouTube channel on January 18th, 2006, really early on in the website's history. On this channel, Chris would just upload random skits he did with his friends and even a ghost hunting show to the audience of next to no one. Keep this ghost hunting show in the back of your mind. This will come into play much, much later. One of these videos was this skit where he and one of his buddies would go around different places on a road trip, which really only took place in front of a green screen and told you all sorts of facts about the places. Oh god, I just unlocked a memory with this. When I was in, I think 6th grade, I think I convinced my history teacher to show this in class because it was educational, and I wanted validation for watching Chris Bores, even though nobody knew who he was. Oh my god, I cannot believe I remember that. I thought I blocked it out. Let's just move on, please. While Chris was just uploading a bunch of random stuff online to test out his video making skills, he noticed the growing trend that was the angry game reviewing scene blowing up online, which inspired him to go ahead and take a shot at the scene himself. Soon Chris started popping out his own game reviews. Now, I stated a while back in my old AVG and Clones video what my thoughts on Chris's reviews in general were, and today I still stand by that opinion. Chris's reviews on their own are fine. They're well shot, well edited, and get the job done. They're nothing of note. But maybe that's just me. Maybe I lowered the bar too low, considering his competition was a man from Finland struggling with the English language and a guy struggling to breathe while talking about the shit cube. Maybe I'm just satisfied with a video that has any semblance of quality put into it. People look back on these types of videos and how every review format looked like at the time, and Chris's game reviews hit every single stereotype there was. The excessive swearing, check. The endless guest characters, at one point there was one almost every episode, check. The overuse of digital special effects, check. The dark and evil version of the reviewer he eventually has to fight, check. The videos eventually having a Linkar-esque contrived and overarching plot that falls flat on its face, check. Mother of God, they're all here. The vast majority of these characters are all played by Chris himself, so he's sort of going for an Eddie Murphy and the Nutty Professor thing here. With classic recurring characters such as Ronnie the Jewish Skeleton and Satan.
Face it, Arthur, you'll never get this far. Excuse me.
I don't think these two costumes ever left his personal wardrobe, he used them so much. The way I've described Chris's reviews as lesser AVGN, and that also hasn't changed at all. There is absolutely nothing you can get from his reviews that you can't get from somewhere else. Unless you really like corny special effects and appearances from random wacky characters Chris has to interact with in one way or another. And if you want me to be honest, I get a so bad it's good kind of vibe from these videos. They are trying so hard to be funny and doing the same thing James was doing, it falls flat on its face and wraps back around to being actually kind of funny.
What? Can you tell me where I can find a Halloween party around these here parts? Get the fuck off my property! What a dick!
I mean, one episode just has him and one of his pals walking around a green screen desert. Then they stumble upon a copy of Aladdin for the Super Nintendo, and they rub it, and they are mysteriously whisked away back home, only to reveal the Aladdin cartridge holds a genie! The review is filled with corny special effects and bad acting.
Yes, I am indeed a genie. You rubbed the magic game, and I granted your first wish. Now you have 2 remaining.
And of course, the episode ends with Chris having to fight a CGI snake. This all ends with the two of them back where they started, as if it never happened at all. This was Chris at his absolute peak. There is just something so endearing about watching a comedian completely bomb, and Chris is the prime example of this.
Ugh, somebody call 911, because I was robbed.
His videos are chock full of so many bad jokes they make you wonder, what was he on while writing them?
Pressing up will make a move up. Pressing down will make a move down. Pressing the A and B buttons will open and close his arms. And pressing the party button makes him get jiggy with it.
He just slapped a sticker on his NES controller and called it the party button. He had to, as simple as it is, make a prop for this. And of course the end of the 2-parter episode has to end with him fighting Rob the Robot. Now I know what everyone is thinking, but he did this a few years before James did his very own Rob the Robot review, so Chris had him beat here. But that's one of the very few times Chris had James beat, because as is expected, a lot of his reviews are very similar to James's very own, especially if they involve games both of them have reviewed.
You go to the cafe, which by this time is a breath of fresh air to see something different.
You end up in Lou's Cafe. It's nice and refreshing to see a change of scenery after 4 levels of the exact same stuff.
I wish I could go back in time to prevent this game from being made.
This game is so bad I wish I could just go back in time and stop it from ever being created.
Some lingo is just straight up lifted from the nerd.
What a shitload of fuck.
What a shitload of fuck!
The actual review parts of the video are honestly the worst parts. Chris doesn't really seem to have that much of a grasp on game design, and a lot of his gripes seem to just come down as nitpicking or a build-up to a bad joke.
But what the hell is up with all these other enemies? The title of this game clearly reads, Zombies Ate My Neighbors, not Monsters Ate My Neighbors.
His most popular review, by far, that showcases this, is his review of Super Mario Bros. 2. This was the review that put Chris on the map, and it's mostly him nitpicking the game and complaining that it plays and looks nothing like the original game. Until he reveals, gasp, it's not actually the real Mario 2, it was a reskinned game called Doki Doki Panic that Nintendo localized and turned into Mario 2. Nowadays, this is, no duh, everyone knows that, but give him some slack. It was 2007, so this probably might have been some groundbreaking news to like 5 people. Weirdest thing of all, a clone of Chris comes out of nowhere for a gag, and then at the very end he tries to kill the real Chris, only for Chris to kill him first. And then this clone becomes a reoccurring antagonist known as the Evil Gamer.
I'm getting you for this. Ah!
Some of these videos just have a random gimmick that doesn't really make sense why they're structured like they are. His review on Mario is Missing in Mario's Time Machine is vastly different from the AVGN's, because this one involves a split timeline, where tiny choices determine on what game he reviews and if he lives or dies. In one timeline, he gets fed up with the game, throws it away where it hits a gas line, conveniently labeled gas line if you couldn't tell, and then after he tries to destroy the next game, he blows himself up. The other timeline, he gets Roddy the Skeleton to fix the gas line, and then they all end up going on a vacation trip with each other. This is the kind of stupid shit I strive for. Damn it, all of his dumb skits are too entertaining for me to write off. They're honestly the best parts, and that's a strange thing to say for me, because I usually hate overly drawn out skits, like all of Doug Walker's later work. But something about these are just so try-hard, they wrap back around to being endearing, especially since most of them are just done by one guy. The thing is, the Irate Gamer is what Chris was well known for, just doing something someone else was doing, but lesser. He didn't want to be seen as a one-trick pony, so he kind of went out of his way to do more than just this. While he may have just been playing Follow the Leader, Chris actually found quite a bit of success online despite this. Back in the day, YouTube established their partnership program where you could start making money off producing content for the website, but you had to be selected by them personally in order to qualify. Did you know that when it came to Chris and James, YouTube actually picked Chris over James to be a part of their partnership program? Yeah, James wasn't selected to be a part of this, but Chris was. Why, you may ask? Well, it's simple. Even though he was doing the same thing but lesser, the lesser part is what mattered to YouTube. Chris wasn't considered as foul-mouthed or crude as James was, and thus he was more advertiser-friendly. Yeah, even back in the day, YouTube was very cutthroat about their content policies. But of course, this really wasn't an issue for James, as back then he partnered with ScrewAttack and Game Trailers to get paid for his work, and both of those websites no longer exist today. God, don't you just love the current internet landscape? Chris can now start making money on YouTube, but he also made a contract deal with a website called GotGame, another website that no longer exists. After making this deal with GotGame, Chris really started branching out and doing a bunch of things, really to meet his quota for the website. He started a new variation for the Irate Gamer called Irate Gamer Neo, which focused around him reviewing games that were brand new. Due to his connections with GotGame, this gave Chris access to a ton of games early on and even got flown out to E3 every year when it was still around. And to be honest, hell, I'd take that offer up in a heartbeat. Chris was interviewing and reviewing a bunch of current-gen stuff, current-gen for the time at least, so he was actually seen as somewhat of a professional at the time. That hurt to say. But the thing is, some of these videos feel like they weren't made out of passion for video games. They feel like they were made because, well, it was his job now. This is what he was paid to do. Sometimes he would do tech reviews, or unboxing of blind boxes to what felt like the need to fill out a quota, instead of actually wanting to do these things. It's one of those online creator things, where turning your hobby into a job just kinda sucks the fun out of it. I think everyone on this platform suffers from it at some point. But that's not to say Chris didn't try other things, because he did. In fact, he has a handful of different video types he's tried out during his years. Chris also reviewed and did a top 5 of current year movies that came out during the year, in Chris fashion.
Dragon Ball Evolution. And it's about damn time this movie comes out. This movie will most likely be the first installment of this epic adventure, and from what I've seen and heard about this movie already, it shouldn't disappoint.
It really feels like he just wanted to get another type of video out that wasn't his game reviews, and there's no reason to look at Chris's top 5 movies of 2008 in 2025. Oh, and right around the time the Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures game came out, which was a big retro-style platformer starring the nerd, Chris also, conveniently, had his own game coming out, but only on phones though, and it turns out it just seems to be a reskin of a game called Commander Cool. So it's not even original in the first place. Very on brand, I must say. The only interesting thing about this game is, it was lost media for a while because nobody wanted to archive it. You know, I'm a little disappointed. I was expecting a lot more to work with here, and this isn't really interesting at all. Oh, wait. I remember one series, though. You see, Chris was still taking cues from James Rolfe, and James had a slew of other video series he was making, and one of those series was called You Know What's Bullshit. This entire show was mainly focusing on the small things in life that, while trivial in the grand scheme of things, were still annoying and just made your life worse. It is a very relatable show. Like, yeah, tell them, James, pennies are bullshit. They are worthless.
Pennies are worthless. What can you buy with a penny? Nothing. So why do we even have pennies? Get rid of them.
From what I've heard, this series Chris made was an answer to You Know What's Bullshit. And in the end, it would be the greatest series Chris has ever made. This is a series where Chris rants about breakfast cereal.
I remember when they added the purple horseshoes to the mix back in 1984 to finally complete the rainbow of colors. For a kid like me, this was a really big deal. But if you open any box of Lucky Charms today, the shapes you end up finding are anything even close to the ones I remember. What the hell?
This is one of the most amazing things I have ever seen from an online content creator. Like, oh my god, I cannot believe he actually thought of this and produced it. It's him complaining about the fact they changed the marshmallows in his Lucky Charms, and they changed the guy on the front of the Cinnamon Toast Crunch box.
And now the only original shape left is the pink heart. I mean, come on. Can't we at least go back to the 6 original shapes?
And to top it all off, he coined the ever so popular catchphrase.
Face it, breakfast is ruined.
Oh my god, that is great. That is a line that will forever be ingrained into my mind.
Face it, breakfast is ruined.
Did he think this was going to take off? Did he think the kids were going to be talking about the Chris Boers' hot new series, The Breakfast Rant? The whole point of James's series was complaining about little things in life that pissed him and probably a lot of other people off. It's something people can relate to. But this misses that point entirely. This is not third world problems or first world problems. This is no world problems. As in, nobody else in the world is complaining about this besides Chris Boers. Nobody else is complaining that the marshmallows and their Lucky Charms aren't the same ones from the 80s. They all taste the same at the end of the day. I could only find 3 videos from this series, and I don't think there were any more, because you dumbasses can't appreciate true cinema. Yeah, Chris was an 80s kid, and he'll be sure to let you know. That's why he took a lot of his cues from The Breakfast Rant and transformed it into Irate the 80s, a show where he looked at stuff from the 80s. This show lasted way longer since 80s nostalgia was going through a boom when he was releasing these vids, so that probably helped. But the analyses and jokes were not any better.
So why the hell are all these flavors now missing from the Kool-Aid lineup? And why take out the flavors that made Kool-Aid great? Now all we're left with is crapberry.
I mean, he tried a bunch of things to see what would stick. Experimentation is good, but his most popular series would always be the Irate Gamer. Which kinda sucks because the Irate Gamer was known as just a lesser, plagiarized version of the AVGN. And since that was what he was known for, the notoriety quickly spread online. Whenever you get any sort of fame online, criticism is bound to come your way, no matter what. It's inevitable. Somebody out there will not like you. Chris gaining fame was one thing, but due to how similar his shtick was to James's, and getting famous off of that made Chris not really look good. While he gained a fanbase of his own, it should be stated, some people did not like Chris Boers.
Literally, he puts me to sleep. He is not funny. He's unrelentlessly boring. He could put anybody to sleep.
Some people really did not like Chris Boers.
The Irate Gamer steals all of his jokes, and if he makes up and the jokes he does make up, they all suck.
No, actually, some people hated Chris Boers. They despised him and everything he stood for.
I mean, this guy gets like 250,000 views per video. That's 250,000 fat, unfunny virgins that sit around watching this guy thinking he's funny.
Entire YouTube channels were made just to take the piss out of Chris. Hey, that rhymed. People looked at all of his reviews and found out not only was he just taking some of James's critiques and redoing them, but his reviews were filled with mistakes. Now, everyone can make mistakes in their videos, trust me, I know that more than anyone, but people would go out of their way to prove that some of Chris's critiques were just flat out wrong.
The only thing you can do in the ring is punch, jump, slam, and that's pretty much it.
I mean, he made a 9-minute review based on a lie, and that lie is you can't do anything but jump, punch, and kick. Yeah, there's not much you can do, but you can't just... There's not much you can do in this game, I'll say that, but You can do more than just punch and kick and jump. If you would have just played this for 5 more minutes, you would have realized you can do this! Holy crap! The point of showing it was to tell people, if you're going to review a game, make sure you play it fully, for God's sake.
People were especially harsh towards him if he was covering a well-beloved game. Oh lord, his Irate Gamer Neo videos got a ton of crap because they were brand new, hot games, and Chris didn't really seem to put much time or effort into reviewing them.
Sleeker, smoother, and more satisfying 3D fighter than we've ever seen. Even Game Informer called this game near gaming perfection. Near gaming perfection? Am I missing something here?
Just looking at the dislike bar at some of these videos should tell you enough on how people felt about them. Chris was popular, but probably not in the way he would have wanted. Chris had a series on his channel he called The History of Video Games, where he would talk about, well, I don't think I need to tell you. In one of the videos, he covered the MagicMush Odyssey, one of the first home video game consoles ever made, and he got so many details in the video wrong and was so bad at presenting it, he actually ended up getting the actual creator of the MagicMush Odyssey himself, Ralph Baer, to send an email and write up a 2-page document on how much he hated the video. And mind you, this guy was pushing 90 when this video series was made. Chris's video made an old man get off his deathbed just to trash talk him. You can type in YouTube right now, Irate Gamer Rant, and find a ton of people just dunking on the guy, all for the exact same reasons. He's a ripoff of the AVGN, he's flat out wrong in some cases, he's not funny, he's boring, repeat ad nauseum. Irate Gamer Rant videos and Irate Gamer parodies were their own genre at some point. Memes, remixes, YouTube poops, he was the subject of pure ridicule. His comment section was filled with tons of hate and troll comments, about what you would expect at this point. There was some moderation going on in these comments, someone was deleting them and combating the criticism and trolling. But it wasn't Chris himself. It was this strange account called Ladybuggin777, who was incredibly protective of Chris and going against his detractors. Who the hell is this? People dug in and found out this is Chris's mom. Or supposedly. Some people believe it's just him on an alt account, but it's never been proven. Yeah, he's apparently got his mom fighting against the trolls in the comments. Who knew online discourse could bring a family together? Oh, did I forget to mention, he and his mom also sent copyright strikes down to channels making fun of his content? Because, yeah, that happened as well.
Due to Irate Gamer becoming such a big shot, his Y2B Productions, Yippee 2 Bunghole, company is now forcing YouTube to take out anything that so-called infringes on his videos. If you mock the Irate Gamer in a video, he will be able to take it off.
At this point, Chris Bores was the low-hanging fruit of online content. If you want some quick brownie points, just take a shot at him and people will love you for it.
Why couldn't the cereal change shape every time I pour it? Better still, why can't sprites drop in the bowl? And how awesome would cereal be if it had special effects?
Hell, the Lightbringer got in on dunking on Chris. He made a whole parody of him reviewing comics.
I mean, it just takes forever to read a comic book and scan in pages, and then I add special effects! See? This took me 3 weeks alone!
Even Doug Walker used Chris Bores to insult James Rolfe during that whole Nostalgia Critic vs. AVGN arc.
So it seems that the angry video game nerd has officially become the Irate Gamer to my incredible genius. Okay, alright. That was too far.
At this point, it felt like everyone was making fun of the Irate Gamer for ripping off James Rolfe, except James himself. Yeah, despite the fact you couldn't go 5 seconds without someone taking a pot shot at Chris, James just said nothing on the whole thing. And yes, he was fully aware who Chris was at this time. Chris had actually sent James an email back in 2007 about how much he inspired and took cues from him in his videos. It was only supposed to be between the two of them, but the entire email got leaked thanks to a certain individual. And when people read up on it, they basically took it as confirmation that Chris was just admitting he was aping James' entire shtick for cash, which I feel is a bit harsh. But that's how much Chris was dunked on back in the day. James still refused to ever even acknowledge Chris, and even when asked about the Irate Gamer at conventions, all he had to say was this.
What do you think of the Irate Gamer?
Answer as quickly as I can. I have no reason to answer it. I mean, he pretty much pretends that I don't exist, so why would I even need to say anything about it? I don't realize what that does.
That should tell you enough. All this hatred towards him would all come together in the biggest source of disgust for Chris Bores and everything he's done, the Irate Gamer Sucks blog. This blog, from 2009 to 2022, 13 straight years of hate, would document and critique everything Chris put out. Every review, every controversy, every single thing he said to every single thing he did would be torn apart on this blog. I wasn't joking when I said some people despised Chris Bores. But the question remains, was any of this justified? Well, this should really give you a picture on how things were back in the day. Remember, this was back when the internet was slowly breaking out of its niche, when it was transitioning from something only a handful of the population was using to something that every person interacts with every single day. Chris was considered one of the more controversial figures back in the day, and all he really did was just doing a shitty version of something someone else was doing and make bad jokes in the process. Now compared to today, where it feels like every month another online figure gets busted for attempting to groom someone underage, or trying to scam their audience, in hindsight, this is absolutely nothing. There were just objectively less people online, especially minors, so this is really what pissed a lot of people off. Grooming scandals back then only happened once in a blue moon, so people weren't really worried about that too much. This stuff mattered back then, because that's all people had to really worry about. But it just goes to show you how bad things have become today when you can write all this off because, well, at least he didn't groom anyone. I would say, yeah, the hate was overblown. But then again, the people back in the late 2000s had no idea just how bad things would get. Probably one of Chris's biggest detractors was the Archfiend, a popular rant YouTuber from back in the day. He has dozens of videos on Chris and all of his escapades from back then. Archfiend has actually screwed with Chris in more ways than one.
Within 1 hour of posting my video last night, the Irate Gamer had banned me from his YouTube page. Also within that hour, he had dropped me from his list of friends on his MySpace page as well. I mean, I have to give it to him. That's pretty damn efficient. I mean, April 31st. April 31st. On what calendar does the day April 31st exist?
He and Boris would butt heads quite often, until in 2014, finally Chris makes a response video to Archfiend, and finally opens up about what's happened the past couple of years. He describes how James was a huge inspiration for him, and how he constantly tried to get him to notice him, but felt like James was always snubbing him in one way or another.
I sent him an email saying all this stuff, hoping to clear the air and just, extend an olive branch to this guy, and say, look, I don't feed into this, whatever these guys are saying, because it's not true. And I ended up getting a reply from him. Well, interestingly enough, he kind of had a set of demands that he wanted from me that said, I'm okay with this, but I want you to publicly acknowledge that I was your inspiration. I didn't reply right away. But I woke up one morning and saw that the email that I sent him was posted online. And I was devastated. Here was a guy that I looked up to who was a huge inspiration. And, he did this. And I lost all respect from that guy. From then on, I stopped watching his reviews. I made it a point never to talk about him again, which I guess I'm breaking now. I saw what kind of guy I was dealing with, and it really hurt my feelings.
Ain't I a fucking stinker?
Honestly, there are a lot of questionable things in this video I could tackle, but I'm not going to steal someone else's thunder. If you want a breakdown of all the stuff in this video, go watch this vid by Comment Nonsense Media from a couple of years ago. It's worth a watch. So the man was the laughingstock of the internet for a couple years, but he still continued to make a nice chunk of change. And as many would know, the angry reviewer scene started to peter off come the mid to late 2010s, and while James was still able to continue on business as usual, the same can't be said for Chris. And around the time, Got Game was no more. So Chris, with his main source of income almost gone, had to find another source of revenue. Around the mid-2010s, Chris basically retired the Irate Gamer character, as the entire shtick had worn out its welcome, and drama-wise, nobody really seemed to care about him anymore. By this time, the internet was so mainstream that there were way bigger fish in that pond to fry. But Chris spent so long in that field as a source of income. What would he do now? Get a local blue-collar job? Go use his art degree, specialties, and talents and move on to the next level? No. What he did next, I don't think anyone expected. You see, with the massive rise of the internet and YouTube, and the creation of YouTube Kids, parents found out that the best babysitter they could get for their kid was their tablet. That'll keep them occupied for hours and hours on end. No passion, no effort, just some flashy colors and noises to shut your kids up. YouTube Kids was a surefire way to make some easy dosh, and a lot of YouTubers took a stab at it. One of these YouTubers was Chris. Chris decided to make a toy reviewing channel under the guise of a puppet based on Steve from Minecraft, and thus, Puppet Steve was born. This channel is Puppet Steve, played by Chris Bores, opening up toys and then playing with them.
Steve! What a handsome bunch of looking guys!
This is pure stimulation for your children and nothing else. And it was the most successful thing Chris has ever done.
Alright, mateys, time to set sail.
And this playset is awesome because it comes with a wheel that spins. Whoa! I broke it. Guess we need to be careful with these pieces.
He dabbled in YouTube Kids and got rewarded gracefully for it. Over 1 million subs, dozens and dozens of videos with over 1 million views, and all he had to do was play with plastic toys in front of a camera. Well, so much for that blue-collar job. Why do that when you can do this?
Who wants a cupcake?
Ooh, me. That is Steve! Get that out of your mouth right now! Blah.
And there's well over 1,000 videos here, so your kids have plenty to keep them occupied. I mean, I can't be too hard on Chris for this because, well, tons of channels were already doing this, and he was just doing what he did back in 2007, chasing a trend, and he was yet again rewarded heavily for it. I guess you really can capture lightning in a bottle twice. It would not take long for people to find out that Puppet Steve and Chris Bores were one and the same. I mean, the voice was a dead giveaway. Chris always did sound like a high school jock, and pitching it up slightly isn't going to help much.
As you know, we just love Ghostbusters, so today we're going to be looking at the exclusive Slimer cereal.
When his fans and his detractors discovered this, they were gobsmacked. They didn't think it was really possible for Chris to sink to this level and appeal to the lowest common denominator. But here he was, playing with toys to shut little Valerie up for a couple of hours. But I just want to say, a paycheck is a paycheck. If this is what keeps the lights on for him, let him keep at it. Did I forget to mention that this video is sponsored by Proton Mail?
Boy, that stuff is really green.
Face it, breakfast is ruined.
So obviously, he isn't doing this for passion or because he wants to. He's doing this so he can, pay his bills. It was made clear that he didn't really do Irate Gamer because he wanted to either. So another question to be asked. Is there anything Chris is actually passionate about? Anything that he actually wants to do? Well, yes, there is. And it involves neither video games nor toys, but instead, a dive into the world of the paranormal. Since the very start of his YouTube career, it was always just sitting there in plain sight. The thing Chris Bores was actually interested in, that being inspection into the world of ghosts. All the way back in 2006, with his first channel, he was posting videos of him and one of his pals searching for ghosts. And we're not talking about dressing up as the Ghostbusters and going around different places pretending to look for ghosts as a skit. I mean real, professional level ghost hunting. I'm gonna go ahead and state this. I'm not going to sit here and be Mr. Killjoy and go, ghosts aren't real, this is stupid. We're going to give Chris the benefit of the doubt and see how this is his true calling instead of the alternatives.
Alright, Foxy, set sail to Red Lobster! Arr!
His ghost hunting show from back in the day is pretty much played straight like the ones you saw on TV, only with the budget of an online show from 2006, which means there was no budget. It's mostly them exploring abandoned locations, hunting for ghosts and anything paranormal. And honestly, this entire series for me is ungodly boring. Seeing Chris and his friends stumble around the dark and the highlights usually include maybe hearing a whisper or a faint sound that might be a ghost, it's not my cup of tea.
Around the same time that we smelled gunpowder, our cameras picked up this sound. Could this be the sound of a woman moaning?
But the thing is, I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be genuine, as in Chris is actually really searching for ghosts. Where you noticed a lot of ghost hunting shows from around the time tried a lot of techniques to fake things or make them seem more dramatic. Chris is actually seen as somewhat of a respected person in this field because he's not only done these videos, but also has been on dozens and dozens of actual news broadcasts involving ghosts and paranormal hauntings.
Did you know today is National Ghost Hunting Day? This morning here on WTOL 11 this morning, we are here with Toledo ghost hunter Chris Boris. Chris, thanks for joining us this morning.
Oh, thank you. Glad to be here.
Okay, so talk to us a little bit about what you do. I mean, you're a ghost hunter, but what does that entail?
Yeah, certainly. Well, I call myself a ghost behaviorist. I study the behavior patterns of spirits. I'm the world's first.
He's written multiple books on being a ghost hunter, and oh my god, can YouTubers please stop writing books?
Buy my book.
This whole ghost hunter thing sort of took a back seat during the years when Chris was at his prime. This wasn't really focused on much at all. People were too busy accusing him of plagiarism and taking on videos criticizing him. But now, a lot more people are focused on this since it seems he's finally opening up this side of him he's been keeping under wraps for years. And also after he's made some very questionable statements.
A day before I was going to be filming this episode, that night we had some weird paranormal things happen where we had an entity kind of come in and wake us up in the middle of the night and mutter the words, "I can't breathe."
Chris, you doing all right over there? Do you need some chlorpromazine too, Chris? Chris now has an entire Ghost Doctor website up where you can purchase the services so you can cleanse your house of evil spirits. You can buy the standard, silver, or gold package, where he basically sends you a couple of videos that are instructions on how to cleanse your house. So it's basically a do-it-yourself cleansing, but shouldn't I get a priest for this? Why would the ghosts listen to me? You can buy these along with a bunch of other things from the website, like a whole kit for banishing spirits. Yeah, I'm sure that's actual blessed holy water. Some of the Ghost Doctor books, and the most useful thing out of the entire bunch. The Irate Gamer Season 1 through 6 on Blu-ray. Oh god, they'll send any spirit running for the hills. He's also classified all the ghosts and all the different types there are, and this is just, it's so corny. Why have you labeled them and given them icons like it's a real-time strategy game? Is he taking the piss with this? To advertise his new website, Chris held a live stream and answered a bunch of questions on what exactly is going on here. And, whoo boy, you want an hour of one of the most nonsensical live streams ever aired? This right here will do it. He's claimed he's attended after parties where they have incantations and worship demons, and since he didn't want to be a part of that, YouTube screwed his channel over.
Are they doing incantations and things like that just by saying a sequential order of words? Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. If you know where to look online, you can see a lot of like artists in with their concerts and things like that. And I saw it firsthand too at E3. And I don't talk about this a lot, but there were some after parties there where it's like, what the hell did I just walk into? And I'm telling you, I was approached by YouTube in 2012. They fucked my channel. Sorry to say it, to get vulgar, and it's because I did not want to sell out and become part of their whatever. And the top people on YouTube now, you better be careful.
And you could tell by watching that the chat members were having a hoot and a holler and were just messing with them the entire time.
Told my gay friend Lilith about the 90-minute interaction you had in your book. He's wondering if it's possible for him to entice the male spirit that's haunting him to fall in love with him.
And to top all of this off, Chris made a video last year I don't think anyone was expecting. This is Chris Chen's infamous Sonic Shoe medallion. I don't need to explain Chris Chen to you all, but if you honestly don't know, start here. Anyway, some e-celebs and content creators had some bad things happen to them in the last year or two, and people started noticing all of these content creators had, at one point, wore this. It's believed that due to the fact that a ton of these people wore replicas of the Sonic Shoe medallion, and right afterwards awful things started to happen to them, the thing was cursed. Chris decided it was time for him to investigate, and so he did.
The Sonic Shoe medallion necklace has been causing quite a stir online recently to reach the level of creepypasta status. Rumors are swirling that wearers of the Sonic Shoe are now succumbing to the curse that also took down the creator. Today we'll be diving into the paranormal mythology of this necklace, its victims, and a deep investigation to see if the Sonic Chew is in fact cursed. And some of the results are shocking.
How do you go from angry game reviewing to this? How does one enter this pipeline, and where can I start? I am not joking when I say this is far more entertaining than anything he was doing when he was an AVGN knockoff, and I am looking forward to seeing what else happens with this. I mean, there's always the chance he's just faking all this for money and attention, but the fact he's been ghost hunting for going on almost 19 years now, I'm not too sure on that. Please, let the man keep doing this, for God's sake. I need to see where this goes. But, as for the story of Chris as a whole, this is where we must conclude things. So is this all Boris is today? A crazy ghost hunter selling you, like, snake oil? Well, actually, Chris is busier and pumping out more content than ever before. Not only is he doing the Ghost Doctor stuff, but he's also still pumping out Puppet Steve videos almost daily. And not only that, he also revived the Irate Gamer, and he puts out one of those videos once in a while, but his glory days are long past him. Surprisingly enough, though, he was able to actually mend his estranged relationship with James Roth. But this is also mellowed out past his prime James, so that's probably why. The two were able to settle their differences and make up, and they actually made 2 crossover videos. One on the Puppet Steve channel where both James and Chris play Ryu and Ken amiibos and fight on a Street Fighter 2 arcade cabinet.
Whoa, wait a minute. 2 players at once? That means Ken and I can finally go head to head.
Ooh, you're going down. I'll be the victor.
Over my dead body.
Yeah, that's the point. Take this!
And then a couple of months later, an actual crossover with the two involving the NES game Dick Tracy, which James has already reviewed. Spoiler alert though, the crossover sucks ass. James is barely in it and only pops up halfway through and near the very end. I mean, yeah, it's a crappy crossover, but it just shows you how far these two have come. The Irate Gamer as a character, nobody really seems to care about anymore. The guy behind the Irate Gamer Sucks blog announced back in 2022 that he was done doing this shit because, well, it was old and worn out. While Chris is still producing Irate Gamer videos, nobody is really bothered by them anymore. Well, for the most part. Someone saw some value in them because last month, somebody hacked Chris's Irate Gamer channel and deleted damn near everything. But he was able to get it all back. Hell, when I alluded to this video last month in my Cheetah Man video, people thought I had something to do with it. I watched Chris back in the day because I became obsessed with angry retro game reviewing. I wanted more like the AVGN, and Chris was there to scratch that itch. But I was also like 10, so I didn't really know what quality was. Looking back, yeah, these videos sucked ass. But they were at least entertaining. Seeing one guy just try to do everything himself with the multiple costumes and cheap special effects is endearing in a weird way. But not everyone is going to agree with me on that front, and you're entitled to your own opinions. It really did feel like Chris used to be the most hated man on the platform, but now that is most definitely not the case. Way worse would come with the following years, and well, he just became old news. Now his passion for ghost hunting is way more prevalent, and I am very curious to see where this goes. Irate Gamer is old news, the Ghost Doctor is where it's at now. So what have we learned here today, boys and girls? Well, the internet was a simpler place when this guy was one of the most controversial figures online. Plagiarism never really stopped being a talking point online, and Chris kind of made his entire persona based around that, and I'm glad he sort of shifted away from that. I would know. I've taken topics people have already talked about and tried to put my own spin on it. It didn't work. Live and learn, I guess. God bless, like and subscribe, and good night. And remember, my friends, monkey see, monkey do. That's all I got. Bye.
What?
Good afternoon, sir. Could we interest you in some chocolate?
Get the fuck off my property! What a dick!